I'm Marlowe, I'm 34, and I'm a single mom to my amazing son, Liam. I booked a $5,100 venue to give him the perfect birthday, but when we arrived, the banner didn't say his name. It said Happy 8th, Harry. My heart sank. I didn't know what to do. Where are you watching from? Comment below, and don't forget to subscribe for more family drama and emotional courage stories. The morning started like any other, except it carried a weight of anticipation I couldn't shake. I woke up before the sun even crested the horizon, my alarm buzzing faintly on the nightstand. My heart raced with a strange mix of excitement and nervous energy. Today was Liam's 8th birthday, the day I had promised him would be unforgettable. I was Marlowe, 34, a single mom juggling work, life, and dreams for my little boy. I had invested weeks planning every single detail, and I refused to let anything ruin this day. From the kitchen, the smell of fresh coffee mingled with toast and cereal, a mundane yet comforting backdrop. Liam bounded down the stairs in his dinosaur pajamas, already buzzing with the kind of enthusiasm only an 8-year-old can muster. Mom, Mom, is it today? Is it today? He squealed, jumping from one foot to another. Yes, baby. Today's the day, I said, ruffling his brown hair and forcing a calm I didn't feel. Inside, a flutter of anxiety hovered in my chest. I had double-checked the venue booking multiple times, confirmed the cake delivery, and spoken with staff again just yesterday. Yet there was always a small, nagging doubt, the kind of doubt that creeps in quietly, threatening the excitement with a whisper. What if something goes wrong? We started packing the car for the big day. Jessica, my closest friend and loyal support system, had offered to come along. Her calm presence was a balm for my nerves. She carried a checklist, balloons, utensils, games, gift bags, decorations, everything neatly organized in her handwriting. Don't worry, Marlowe, she said gently. Everything is ready. Liam's going to love this. I tried to absorb her words, nodding while my hands fumbled with the gift bags. Each bag contained little surprises, candies, and toys I had carefully picked out, along with a handwritten note thanking the children for coming. The smallest details mattered to me because this day wasn't about showing off. It was about love, joy, and making Liam feel truly special. On the drive, Liam jabbered nonstop, listing the friends he hoped would arrive early, the games he wanted to play first, and whether the magician's hat could actually hide a rabbit. I smiled, trying to keep my mind on logistics, while also enjoying his unfiltered joy. Jessica sat next to me, occasionally glancing back at Liam with a reassuring smile. He's so excited, she whispered. You did good, Marlowe. You really did. Arriving at the venue, I parked the car carefully. My stomach fluttered with nervous anticipation. The sun hit the glass doors just right, glinting off the small sign of the hall and making everything sparkle. I felt a familiar surge of pride and responsibility. This party, these decorations, this moment, it was all for Liam. As we stepped out, I took a deep breath of crisp morning air. Balloons swayed gently outside, tied to posts in bright colors. The faint hum of chatter from inside the hall made me smile. It sounded perfect, just like I imagined. I glanced at Liam, who was practically bouncing with excitement, clutching his stuffed dinosaur like it was a prize trophy. We entered the hall, and my heart swelled. Tables were arranged neatly, each with colorful tablecloths and sparkling centerpieces. Chairs were lined up evenly, and the sunlight streaming through the windows made the decorations shimmer. It all looked immaculate. I bent down to Liam's level. Do you like it? I asked softly. His eyes lit up. It's perfect, Mom. Really perfect. He tugged my hand and ran toward the center of the hall, pointing excitedly at the space where he imagined the magician would appear. The magician is going to be here. And the cake. Oh, I hope the cake is here, too. I laughed, brushing a strand of hair from his forehead, but a tiny prickle of unease lingered in my chest. The cake was scheduled to arrive 15 minutes ago. I had confirmed everything multiple times, yet I hadn't seen it. I told myself to breathe, to trust the process. Everything would be fine. Jessica nudged me. "You're overthinking." "Look at him, he's thrilled." I forced a smile and nodded, but I couldn't shake the subtle tension threading through my nerves. I moved to check the balloon arch, adjusting a misplaced ribbon. The staff members walked past, polite but vaguely tense, murmuring words I couldn't quite hear. I ignored it, focusing on keeping everything perfect. More guests started arriving, friends from school, neighbors, and a few cousins. I greeted them warmly, directing children toward the gift bags and helping parents with coats. Liam ran from one group of kids to another, his laughter filling the hall. I watched him, chest swelling with pride and love, as he hugged friends and squealed with delight. I double-checked the gift table. Each bag was neatly arranged, candies spilling slightly from the colorful paper. Little trinkets, stickers, and mini toys peeked out, each chosen to delight the children. I imagined their faces when they picked out something they loved, and my heart swelled with satisfaction. I whispered a silent promise to myself. This day will be unforgettable. Even as excitement buzzed around me, a faint worry lingered. A small doubt whispered in the back of my mind. Did I miss something? Did I confirm everything correctly? But whenever I looked at Liam, all doubts melted. His bright eyes, sparkling with anticipation, made me push aside my anxiety. The sound of laughter, footsteps, and playful shouts from the kids created a comforting chaos. I moved from table to table, making sure every detail was perfect. The cups, the plates, the utensils, the napkins, carefully folded. Each small task reminded me of how much effort I had put into this day, and yet the thrill of it all overshadowed the exhaustion. Jessica whispered, "Just enjoy the moment, Marlowe. Look at him. You did this for him." I took a deep breath and allowed myself to soak it all in. The colors, the laughter, the sunlight streaming through the windows, and Liam's contagious joy. I wanted to remember every second. The small chaos, the squeals of happiness, the smell of balloons and cake mingling in the air. These moments were fleeting, and I wanted to savor them before the inevitable surprises of the day unfolded. At that moment, I was certain of one thing. The hours, the planning, the effort, it was all worth it. This was what being a parent meant. To give your child joy, even if it required stretching yourself thin. Even if it meant putting every ounce of energy into creating something magical. Little did I know that this perfect, radiant morning, the excitement, the laughter, the joy, and the careful preparations was about to collide with a moment so shocking it would leave me questioning everything. For now, though, I stood in the hall, smiling, feeling the warmth of the morning sun and the joy radiating from Liam. The balloons swayed gently, the tables glittered, and my heart soared. The day was just beginning, and I was determined to make it unforgettable. We had just stepped into the hall, the sunlight streaming through the windows catching the glittering decorations. When my heart stopped, the first thing I noticed was the banner. It hung across the main wall, bright and cheerful, glittering in gold letters. But the words didn't make sense. My breath caught in my throat. "Happy 8th, Harry." I froze mid-step, clutching Liam's hand. His small fingers squeezed mine tightly. "Mom, is that for me?" he asked, eyes wide and hopeful. "No, baby, that's not. I don't think." My voice faltered. The words stuck in my throat, but I couldn't lie to him. His face, once bright with anticipation, shifted into confusion, and I felt my stomach drop. 1,000 tiny details of planning, of care, of dreams I had wrapped up in this day seemed to crumble in an instant. Jessica, walking a few steps behind me, noticed my hesitation. Marlowe, what's wrong? She asked, her voice low, cautious. I shook my head, barely able to form words. Look at that banner, I finally said, pointing with a trembling hand. It says Harry, not Liam. For a moment, the world seemed to tilt sideways. Children's laughter from the arriving guests blurred into the background, leaving only that banner. My mind raced. How could this happen? I had triple-checked the booking. I had confirmed every detail. Harry? Who was Harry? The thought gnawed at me, a creeping suspicion I couldn't shake. Liam's grip on my hand tightened. Mom, why does it say Harry? His voice was small, scared but curious. I knelt to meet his eyes, forcing a smile I didn't feel. I don't know, sweetie. Maybe it's a mistake. We'll figure it out, okay? But inside, I felt a cold panic settle in my chest. This was not a small oversight. Something didn't feel right. I scanned the room quickly. The tables were set perfectly, the balloons arranged beautifully, and everything looked exactly as I had requested. The staff bustled about, smiling politely, but there was a tension in their movements that now seemed glaringly obvious. I walked toward the staff manager, trying to steady my voice. Excuse me, I think there's been a mistake. This banner, it's not my son's name. It's supposed to say Liam. The manager smiled too brightly, a little too quickly. Oh, yes, ma'am. That is what was requested. We followed the notes exactly. I blinked, confused. The notes? No, the confirmation says Liam. My son's name is Liam. I booked this months ago. I have the email. Oh, of course, ma'am. There must have been some mix-up in communication. But everything else is ready. The cake, the favors, the decorations, all on schedule. Her words sounded rehearsed, defensive. I swallowed hard, trying not to show the rising dread curling in my chest. Liam tugged at my sleeve. Mom, I don't understand. Why does it say Harry? His voice trembled, and I felt a sharp sting in my heart. I crouched down, brushing a loose strand of hair from his face. Sweetheart, I promise we'll fix this. I don't know why it says that, but I'll make it right. I walked toward the banner, trying to calm my racing thoughts. The letters glimmered cheerfully, mocking in their perfection. Glitter sparkled in the sunlight, each golden letter perfectly cut, perfectly aligned. Happy 8th, Harry. The perfection made the betrayal, or whatever this was, feel intentional. My hands clenched into fists at my sides. Jessica stepped beside me, quietly, her hand on my shoulder. Marlowe, maybe it really is just a mistake. We can call the decorator. Maybe they'll switch it before the party starts. I nodded, trying to believe her, but the tension in the room made my chest ache. Something felt off. Why would a professional venue with a confirmed booking make such a glaring error? And why didn't the staff seem more concerned? The polite smiles didn't convince me. They felt rehearsed, defensive. Guests began arriving, and I forced myself to put on a brave face. Hi, thank you for coming. I called, greeting parents and helping children hang up coats. But my mind kept flickering back to the banner. Every glittering letter shouted betrayal, and every smile from the staff seemed like a mockery. Liam noticed my distraction. Mom, are you okay? I knelt beside him again, squeezing his hand. I'm fine, baby. Really, just let's enjoy the party, okay? I tried to sound cheerful, but my voice trembled slightly. I didn't want to ruin his day, but the gnawing suspicion wouldn't leave me. I decided to check the cake. The bakery delivery had arrived, and a large box rested on the table. My hands shook slightly as I lifted the lid. The cake was perfect, Liam's favorite chocolate and vanilla swirled together, topped with little figurines of his favorite characters. Relief washed over me momentarily, but it was fleeting. The cake didn't erase the banner, and it didn't answer the questions swirling in my mind. I stepped back and scanned the room again. Parents chatted, kids played, and Jessica tried to help Liam with a balloon sword. Everything looked normal, but in the back of my mind, every detail seemed like a potential trap. My eyes darted to the staff manager again, noting the way she avoided my gaze. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but in that moment, my instinct screamed that this wasn't an accident. Trying to calm myself, I walked toward the center of the hall, pretending to check decorations. I adjusted a chair, shifted a centerpiece, and smiled at arriving children. But my thoughts churned. Who is Harry? How did this happen? Every possibility seemed worse than the last. A mix of anger, fear, and disbelief twisted inside me. Liam tugged at my sleeve again. "Mom, can I play the games now?" His innocence was a dagger and a bomb all at once. I knelt down, brushing his hair from his forehead. "Yes, baby, go ahead. I'll be right here." He ran off, laughing, and I watched him go, trying to mask the storm building inside me. Guests began mingling, kids grabbed party hats, and Jessica whispered, "You're doing fine. Don't let this ruin the moment." I nodded, but the unease wouldn't fade. I approached the manager one more time. "Please, I need to understand. This banner, it wasn't supposed to say Harry." Her smile faltered slightly, and she glanced around the room. "Ma'am, I assure you, everything was according to the booking notes. Perhaps there was a misunderstanding with the client who requested the decorations." A chill ran down my spine. The client who requested the decorations. That phrase lodged itself in my mind like a splinter. My stomach tightened. I needed answers. This was no longer about inconvenience. It felt deliberate. As I debated my next move, Liam ran back to me, his small hand clutching a balloon. "Mom, it's okay. The kids are having fun." His words were innocent, comforting, but I couldn't shake the gnawing suspicion. Something was very wrong. I took a deep breath and tried to focus on the little victories. The cake arrived, the kids were happy, the decorations looked perfect, but every glittering letter of Happy Eighth. "Harry!" shouted Betrayal. My thoughts spiraled. Who would do this? And why? Suddenly, a familiar voice reached me across the hall. One of the staff whispered urgently to another, glancing toward me. Their words were muffled, but I caught a fragment. "She'll notice. Don't let her see." My pulse quickened. This wasn't a mistake. This was deliberate. My hands trembled slightly as I clutched Liam's small backpack. My mind raced, trying to piece together who could have done this and how. The possibility that someone wanted to humiliate me, or worse, humiliate Liam, hit like a punch to the chest. Jessica touched my arm gently. "Marlowe, breathe. Let's figure this out. Quietly." I nodded, forcing myself to calm down, but my eyes never left the banner. Each letter glimmered in the sunlight, mocking me. "Harry." The name echoed in my head like a warning. Children's laughter filled the hall, but I felt a growing storm inside, a mixture of anger, confusion, and fear. I knew, in that moment, that this day, my son's perfect birthday, was no longer just about fun and joy. It had become a puzzle, a mystery, and perhaps even a test of my strength. I knelt beside Liam one more time. "Baby, I promise I'll make this right. I don't know how yet, but we'll fix it." He nodded, trusting me completely. His faith was both a comfort and a burden. I smiled at him, but inside, a plan was already forming, a plan to uncover the truth, to understand why this had happened, and to ensure that no one could take this day from us again. Even as the kids ran and laughed, and the guests chatted obliviously, I felt a spark of determination ignite within me. This wasn't just a birthday party anymore. This was a moment that would test everything I believed about trust, care, and the people around me. And I knew deep in my heart that I wouldn't let it destroy us. The moment I realized the banner wasn't for Liam, a flicker of doubt grew into a storm in my chest. Something wasn't right, and my instincts screamed at me to uncover the truth. I knew I couldn't ignore it. Not today. Not while Liam's happiness, our carefully crafted morning, hung in the balance. I whispered to Jessica, I need to figure out who Harry is and why that banner is here. Her hand squeezed mine gently, but I could see the tension in her eyes. She nodded. Okay, Marlowe, let's start quietly before we panic the kids. My first step was the staff. The manager, busy directing servers, seemed nervous under my gaze. I cleared my throat and approached her again, forcing calm. Can I see the order notes? Every detail you received for today's decorations and the banner. She hesitated. Yes, but they're internal records. Her voice wavered slightly. Something in her tone told me she wasn't being entirely transparent. I smiled politely, determined to press forward. Please, I just want to make sure my son's party is correct. It's important to me. She glanced at Jessica, then back at me. All right, let me check the files. She disappeared into a small office behind the main hall, leaving me pacing near the tables. My mind spun. Was it a clerical error? A mix-up with another client? Or something intentional? While she sorted through papers, I walked the room again, looking for clues. The kids played, oblivious to the tension building around them. I caught a glimpse of the cake and decorations again, perfect as they were, but the banner still glimmered cruelly. The contrast was maddening. Everything else was right. Everything else was exactly as planned, except for that single glaring detail. Jessica followed me quietly. Do you think it's sabotage? She asked, lowering her voice. I paused, staring at her. I don't know yet, but it feels personal. I didn't say it aloud, but the thought of someone deliberately trying to humiliate me, or worse, confuse Liam, made my stomach churn. My mind raced through every possibility, past conflicts, disgruntled vendors, even someone connected to our personal lives. The manager returned with a stack of papers. Here, these are the orders and confirmations we received, she said, placing them on a table. I scanned the documents quickly. The order for decorations was in someone else's handwriting, neatly printed, professional. Not my writing, not my email confirmations. Who placed this order? I asked, my voice barely controlled. The manager hesitated. It came through our online booking system. The name listed is Harry's mom. I felt my heart hammer. My thoughts scattered. Harry's mom? Who is that? How did she even know about this date? Panic and curiosity collided in equal measure. I flipped through the notes, trying to find any indication that this was a mix-up. Everything was precise: date, time, venue, all perfectly aligned with our booking. But somehow, someone else's request had slipped in. I couldn't imagine how. The handwriting, the special instructions, even the color scheme matched what I had requested. Except the name. Jessica leaned closer. Do you want me to call the decorator directly? I hesitated, then nodded. Yes, maybe they can tell us who placed the order. I grabbed my phone and dialed the number I had used weeks ago. The line rang, and I tapped my fingers nervously. When someone answered, I introduced myself, careful to keep my voice calm. Yes, I booked decorations for a birthday, but there's been a mistake with the banner. It says Harry instead of Liam. Can you check the records? The voice on the other end was polite, but evasive. Let me see. Yes, it seems there are 2 orders scheduled for that day. One under your name and one under Harry's mom. They appear identical except for the name. I swallowed hard. How is that possible? I don't know, the decorator said. It might be a system error, or Someone could have placed a duplicate order intentionally. But both orders were confirmed for the same time slot. A cold shiver ran down my spine. Intentional. The word echoed in my mind. It was no longer a mistake. Someone had gone out of their way to interfere with Liam's birthday. I ended the call and turned to Jessica. It's deliberate. Someone knew about this day, and they wanted to mess with us. My hands trembled slightly, but I forced my voice to stay calm. I need to find out who. The staff manager approached again, noticing my tension. Is everything all right? She asked cautiously. Yes, I said, my voice steady. But I need you to tell me exactly who requested the decorations. I need names, emails, anything. Her lips pressed together. I can't give personal information. It's confidential. My chest tightened. I don't need confidential details. I just need to know if it came through your system. Who booked it? She hesitated, then sighed. All right, the order lists a Mrs. Henderson. I froze. Henderson. The name sounded familiar, but I couldn't place it. My mind raced, scanning memories of neighborhood interactions, school events, and casual conversations. A flicker of recognition surfaced. Yes, there was a parent from Liam's class with that name. She had always been competitive, always trying to one-up other parents, flaunting her own party planning. My stomach sank. Could she have done this? Planned this exact sabotage? I bit my lip, trying to keep my panic in check. She wouldn't, would she? Liam ran up, clutching a party hat, oblivious to the storm in my mind. Mom, can we start the games now? I crouched to his level, forcing a smile. Yes, baby. Go have fun. Mommy's just making sure everything's perfect. I ruffled his hair and watched him run off. His innocence was both a comfort and a weight pressing on my chest. I turned back to Jessica. We need proof. If we confront her, we need evidence. She nodded. We can check emails, receipts, anything she might have left behind. I walked to the small office the staff used, hoping to find digital records. The computer logged the orders, and I scanned the emails carefully. Sure enough, there was a confirmation under Mrs. Henderson's email. It mirrored my requests perfectly. Color scheme, balloon arrangement, cake preferences, all copied from my original notes. Except the name. Anger and disbelief surged. This wasn't just a prank. It was calculated, precise, and personal. Someone had spent time studying my plans to insert themselves, to claim part of my son's birthday as their own. Jessica came over, leaning against the doorway. She's deliberate. Look at this. Everything matches your order except for the name. She copied you. I nodded, my hands shaking slightly. And she knew the date. She knew it would be perfect. She wanted to ruin it, or claim it. My mind spun with options. I could confront her now, risk a scene in front of the children and guests, or I could gather more evidence. The latter felt safer, smarter. I decided to document everything, the emails, the orders, and the inconsistencies. While I worked, I noticed Liam laughing with friends, the joy in his face piercing through my anger. I realized I had to protect this day for him, no matter what. I continued gathering proof quietly, noting details, the identical color choices, the cake instructions, even the way the balloon arch matched my initial design. Every tiny replication of my planning screamed intentionality. I glanced back at the banner one more time. Happy 8th, Harry. Each letter glittered in the light, mocking, but also revealing the truth. Someone had gone to great lengths to insert themselves into our celebration. And now, I had the evidence to prove it. My phone buzzed. An incoming message from a parent attending the party. Is everything okay? It read. I typed back quickly. Yes, just a small mix-up. I'll handle it. I couldn't let the tension spill into the kids' experience. By the time the staff manager returned to check in, I had compiled all the records, screenshots, and confirmations. I felt a grim satisfaction. I wasn't powerless. I had proof, and I had the ability to respond, calmly, strategically, without letting emotions completely take over. Liam ran past again, his laughter a reminder of why I had to stay composed. My investigation had revealed the culprit, exposed the intentional nature of the mistake, and given me a plan. I could confront Mrs. Henderson later with evidence and protect Liam's day from being ruined further. As the room buzzed with energy, I breathed deeply, feeling a mix of triumph and lingering tension. The investigation had uncovered the truth, but it had also revealed how personal and deliberate the act had been. This day, my son's celebration, had survived the first storm. And now, I could prepare for whatever came next. The moment I gathered all the proof against Mrs. Henderson, a strange clarity washed over me. I wasn't just angry anymore. I was deliberate. This wasn't about yelling or causing a scene at Liam's birthday. That would only escalate chaos and ruin my son's day. No, if I was going to respond, it had to be subtle, intelligent, and undeniable. I leaned back in my chair in the small office, glancing at the glittering chaos outside. Children ran around, balloons bouncing against the walls, laughter echoing in the hall. Liam's joy was a sharp contrast to the storm brewing inside me. I promised myself then I would protect this moment for him, and I would ensure Mrs. Henderson understood, without ruining anyone else's day, that what she tried to do would not go unnoticed. Jessica sat beside me, whispering, "Marlowe, you're thinking about revenge already?" I gave her a small, tense smile. Not revenge, like angry yelling or confrontation. Subtle, calculated, enough to make her feel the consequences without anyone else noticing. She raised an eyebrow. "Do you know what that means?" I nodded. Every move has to be measured. Timing matters. If I act too soon, it looks like petty drama. If I wait too long, she might think she got away with it. My first step was to observe. I couldn't act blindly. I needed to understand Mrs. Henderson's patterns. When she arrived, how she interacted with other parents, what she noticed and ignored. I wandered back into the main hall under the guise of helping with decorations. She stood near the refreshments, talking animatedly to a group of parents. Her eyes flicked in my direction once, and I noticed the quick, almost imperceptible tightening of her smile. I made a mental note. She had seen me, and she likely suspected that I was aware something was off. But she didn't know the extent. That was my advantage. I could use her confidence against her. While the children ran around, I quietly gathered small clues. How she arranged the gift table, which parents she lingered with, the subtle comments she made about other kids' parties. Everything was small, almost meaningless on its own, but together it formed a pattern. She was competitive, yes, but she also thrived on recognition. She wanted others to notice her influence, her planning prowess. That's where I would strike. I decided to start with small, almost invisible adjustments. I moved a few of the chairs subtly, repositioned some of the decorations, and placed Liam's favorite action figure on the center of the cake table, where it could draw attention. Mrs. Henderson noticed the figure almost immediately, her eyes narrowing slightly as she realized it had shifted from her carefully arranged gifts. The tiniest gesture, but it told me she was paying attention, just as I hoped. Next, I planned to let the staff play their part. The cake was delivered perfectly, but I whispered instructions to the servers. Ensure Liam got the first slice, and compliment him publicly on how much effort I put into the theme. It was a quiet signal, but the subtle recognition would sting Mrs. Henderson in the right way. She thrived on being the center of attention, and now she would realize that the attention was on someone else. I moved to the side of the hall, keeping an eye on her. Her face shifted several times between a polite smile and what I recognized as irritation. She said something to one of the other parents, likely trying to regain control of the narrative. That was when I decided to escalate. Subtly, I called over a few of the kids and handed them small prizes I had hidden. "Liam picked these for you," I said, smiling at the group. Her eyes widened imperceptibly, and I could feel the tension in her shoulders. The children didn't care about the competition. They only saw fun and treats. But Mrs. Henderson recognized the power shift immediately. Every small act I planned was making her realize that her interference wasn't successful. Jessica leaned closer, whispering, "Marlowe, you're good at this." I didn't answer. My focus was elsewhere. I watched her now, trying to predict her next move. She lingered too long by the gift table, rearranging items subtly, probably thinking she could salvage the impression she had intended to create. But the subtle chaos I had seeded, the slight shift of decorations, the positioning of the cake figure, and the distribution of the prizes, meant she couldn't control everything. She was already reacting, almost invisibly flustered, and that gave me satisfaction. Then I had an idea for the next phase. If I wanted her to feel the consequences, I needed her to experience small, calculated embarrassment, not public shame, but undeniable acknowledgement that her attempt had failed. I quietly instructed a staff member to hand Liam a microphone for a short thank you speech. When he held it up, his little face lit up. "Thank you, everyone, for coming to my birthday. Mom worked so hard to make this perfect." Her eyes flicked up, catching my face as I smiled warmly at the crowd. I could see the recognition dawn slowly on her. All attention was now on me and Liam. The room clapped and cheered, and her shoulders slumped fractionally. She had no allies in this moment, only my son's joy and my subtle orchestration. As the party progressed, I continued planting small, precise gestures. I made sure Liam's friends received personalized party bags first, carefully included notes of gratitude from me to each parent, and even whispered compliments to the kids about how creative the decorations were. Every small move reinforced that the day was entirely mine to guide. Mrs. Henderson's attempts at influence were noticeable to her alone, like shadows she couldn't dispel. I noticed her glance at the banner again, perhaps realizing that Happy 8th, Harry, had been overshadowed by the careful attention to Liam's party. My heart surged. This was working. Subtle, invisible, almost surgical in its execution, and yet undeniably effective. While the children played, I gathered a few parents for private compliments. "Isn't Liam's birthday amazing?" I asked softly. Their smiles and nods confirmed that the subtle signals were spreading. Recognition, in quiet, thoughtful doses, was more powerful than confrontation. And Mrs. Henderson could see it all helplessly. I took a deep breath and adjusted my approach for the next phase. I noticed she had started murmuring complaints quietly to herself, small, almost inaudible mutters, but enough to show that she realized the day was not going according to her plan. Every glance, every tiny expression of irritation fed my growing satisfaction. I wasn't cruel. I was just reclaiming control of what belonged to me and Liam. I decided to push one more subtle gesture. I asked the staff to play Liam's favorite song on the sound system, making sure it started right when he and his friends were engaged in games. The sudden cheer from the kids, dancing and singing along, caused Mrs. Henderson to glance up, startled. She realized everyone was immersed in Liam's world, his birthday, his joy, and not hers. Jessica whispered, "Marlowe, you've turned it completely around. Look at her." Her gaze was sharp, searching for a way to intervene, but every move she made was already anticipated. I had set the stage perfectly, not with anger or confrontation, but with careful orchestration that emphasized my planning and her failure. Every act I planned reinforced that Liam's happiness and my success was central leaving no space for her interference. Even the small details mattered. I directed the staff to subtly adjust the table layout so that Mrs. Henderson's area was slightly removed from the main action. Not isolation, but subtle positioning, enough for her to notice the difference without it being obvious. Every parent in the room was seeing Liam's celebration as the highlight, leaving her invisible influence inconsequential. Finally, I smiled at Liam as he ran up to me, cake frosting on his cheeks, eyes bright with joy. "Mom, look, everyone's having so much fun." I hugged him tightly, savoring the moment. "I know, baby. Isn't it wonderful?" And as I glanced toward Mrs. Henderson again, her expression a mix of frustration and grudging acknowledgement, I felt the quiet thrill of subtle revenge. No one else needed to know. The children's laughter, the parents' compliments, the carefully guided flow of the party, all of it was evidence enough. She had tried to interfere. I had protected Liam, and she knew it without me ever saying a word. This was my victory, quiet, controlled, and undeniable. The party was winding down. The laughter had slowed, the music softened, and the remnants of games and cake littered the hall. Liam sat in my lap, sticky fingers clutching a half-eaten cupcake, his eyes sparkling with exhaustion and joy. I breathed deeply, savoring the sight, the sound, and the warmth of the day I had fought to protect. But one thing remained. Mrs. Henderson. Her quiet frustration had been simmering all afternoon, and now, as parents began to leave, I realized it was time. Subtlety had done its work. She had felt the sting of her interference, but it was no longer enough. The truth needed exposure. Not loudly, not vindicatively, but in a way that made her undeniable actions visible and undeniable to those who mattered. I gestured to Jessica. "It's time," I whispered. She nodded, sensing my plan without words. Together, we moved toward the small office where I had collected the evidence, the emails, the booking records, screenshots of duplicated orders, and notes detailing how her order had mirrored mine. Each piece was precise, clear, and undeniable. I approached Mrs. Henderson calmly. She was rearranging the last of her party favors, probably hoping no one would notice her missteps today. I kept my voice light, almost casual. "Mrs. Henderson, can we talk for a moment?" Her eyes flicked up, wary but concealing nothing. "Of course," she said. I led her to a quiet corner, careful to maintain discretion while ensuring enough of the room could observe subtle interactions. "I just wanted to clarify something about today's orders." I began. "It seems there was a duplicate booking, under your name." Her face tightened slightly, but she maintained composure. "Oh, I don't know what you mean," she said. I smiled softly, letting my hands rest casually on the folder of records. "It's all here," I said. I opened the folder, showing her the screenshots and emails. Every detail of the decorations, the cake instructions, even the balloon arrangements, they match my original order, except the name. Her eyes widened slightly, but she tried to hide it. That must be a mistake." "I didn't." I held up a finger, stopping her mid-excuse. "I think it's clear now that it wasn't a mistake. Someone intentionally mirrored my plans to insert themselves into my son's birthday." The pause that followed was almost cinematic. Parents nearby had begun noticing the interaction. Curiosity piqued. I continued, carefully measured, ensuring no one could misinterpret my tone as aggression. "It wasn't subtle, Mrs. Henderson. I noticed every detail. But the truth is visible now. Your attempt to claim part of Liam's day is obvious to anyone who looks closely." Her face flushed faintly. I could see the conflict in her eyes, a mix of anger, embarrassment, and perhaps recognition of defeat. She looked away briefly, then back at me, voice tight. I didn't mean to." I shook my head gently. "It doesn't matter what your intentions were. What matters is that you know now. and I wanted to give you the chance to acknowledge it privately." She exhaled, a tremor in her posture betraying her calm facade. Okay, I see." I let a quiet smile linger. "Thank you. That's all I needed." Even as I spoke, I ensured Liam's friends and parents witnessed the subtle exchange. No yelling, no accusation, just evidence, clarity, and acknowledgement. The subtle power shift of the day had now become visible. Mrs. Henderson understood that she had not succeeded, and everyone else saw the integrity of my planning and the joy of my son's celebration. After that brief interaction, I returned to Liam. He was still munching his cupcake, completely unaware of the tension I had just navigated. I ruffled his hair and whispered, "Did you have fun today, baby?" His face lit up. "The best birthday ever, Mom." I laughed softly, a release of tension I hadn't realized I'd been holding. The victory wasn't in confrontation. It was in protecting Liam's joy and revealing the truth without tarnishing the moment. That subtle exposure, layered with quiet power, felt far more satisfying than a scene ever could have. Jessica joined me again, giving me a small smile. "You did it perfectly," she said. "No drama, no chaos, just the truth." I nodded. "Exactly. That's how it should be. And now everyone, including her, understands without anyone feeling embarrassed or alienated beyond what they deserve." As the last parents said goodbye, I walked with Liam to the car, his small hand clutching mine tightly. "I loved my party, Mom," he said, looking up at me with full trust and affection. My chest swelled. Everything I had done, every careful observation, every subtle maneuver, was for him. His happiness was the ultimate resolution. In the quiet drive home, I reflected on the day. The sense of betrayal I had felt earlier had transformed into something deeper, a calm understanding of human nature and the power of thoughtful, measured action. Not every battle needed shouting. Sometimes a quiet, deliberate approach carried more weight than loud confrontation. When we got home, Liam ran inside, eager to show his father the decorations, the toys, and the cake. I followed more slowly, savoring the silence and the satisfaction that the day had been protected. I placed the evidence folder safely in a drawer, not to gloat, but to acknowledge the truth privately. It was my reassurance, a reminder that calculated patience and subtlety could achieve what aggression often could not. That evening, as Liam slept peacefully, I sat by the window, reflecting on the emotional journey. I realized something profound. Revenge wasn't about humiliation or payback. It was about justice, clarity, and emotional equilibrium. By exposing the truth quietly and protecting my son's joy, I had reclaimed not only the day, but also my sense of control and dignity. I thought about Mrs. Henderson, too. She had been challenged quietly without spectacle, but with undeniable proof of her actions. Perhaps she would learn. Perhaps she wouldn't. That was beyond my control. My responsibility was to my son, my family, and my own integrity. A small smile crept across my face. The day had ended in perfect balance. Chaos turned to clarity. Betrayal turned to exposure. Tension turned to relief. Liam's laughter, echoing in the background, reminded me why every careful step mattered. And in that quiet moment, I promised myself no more allowing others to disrupt what is mine, no more letting subtle manipulations go unnoticed. Today, I had learned the power of subtlety, the strength in patience, and the undeniable importance of protecting what truly matters. As I closed the drawer containing the evidence, I felt a release, not of anger, but of completion. The truth had been exposed. Liam's joy had been safeguarded, and my emotional journey had reached resolution, not with spectacle, but with calm, controlled dignity. The experience left me wiser, stronger, and more attuned to the intricacies of human behavior. I realized that life, much like this day, is often about navigating small tensions with patience and awareness, turning potential heartbreak into clarity and empowerment. And in the end, that subtle approach had proven far more satisfying than any public confrontation could have been. As I finally sank into the couch, tired but serene, I felt a deep sense of gratitude for my son, for the lessons learned, and for the quiet power of exposing the truth without compromising joy or integrity. The day was over, but its impact would linger, an emotional resolution that was complete, subtle, and profoundly human. As I watched Liam drift off to sleep, a quiet smile tugged at my lips. Today had been more than a birthday. It had been a test of patience, observation, and subtle strength. I realized that protecting what truly matters doesn't always require confrontation or drama. Sometimes the most powerful victories are quiet, deliberate, and unseen by most. In safeguarding my son's joy, exposing the truth, and reclaiming control, I discovered a deeper sense of peace and resilience, lessons I would carry with me long after the balloons were gone.